The school auditorium buzzed with the kind of nervous energy only a talent show could bring. Students rushed backstage with last-minute adjustments to their costumes, some practicing lines, others twirling nervously, whispering to friends. Parents and families filled the seats, the sound of chatter blending with the squeak of folding chairs and the occasional laugh. But in the midst of all that noise, one man sat quietly, shoulders slightly slumped, eyes tired from a day that had started before dawn. His name was Daniel Carter, a 36-year-old single dad. His shirt was ironed but old, his shoes a little scuffed. His hands bore the marks of factory work, small cuts, permanent calluses, skin hardened by endless overtime. Next to him sat his 12-year-old daughter, Mia. She had her father's eyes warm, brown, and curious, but her smile carried something softer, something that made Daniel's heart ache with both pride and guilt. He wished she had more. More than second-hand notebooks. More than the worn backpack she carried to school every day. More than the nights when she had to fall asleep waiting for him because his late shifts stretched longer than promised. Still, Mia never complained. She sat upright, hugging her notebook, her face full of excitement for the show. "Dad," she whispered, tugging his sleeve, "do you think they'll let me sing next year?" Daniel smiled, ruffling her hair. "Of course. And when you do, you'll shine so bright no one will forget it." But neither of them knew that tonight, it wouldn't be Mia who made the memory of a lifetime. It would be someone else, a girl standing alone backstage, trembling in fear. Her name was Alina. She was new to the school. Her clothes were plain, a little too big for her thin frame. Her shoes had worn soles. Students whispered about her family. How her father worked odd jobs, how her mother was battling a serious illness, how they lived in a tiny rented room near the bus station. Alina kept her head down, carried her books close, and ate lunch in silence. She had a gift, though. A voice like clear water, delicate yet strong. Singing was her escape, her way of making sense of a world that often felt cruel. But it was also a secret. She had never stood on a stage before, never shared her voice beyond the walls of her home. Unfortunately, not everyone at school saw her as a quiet, talented girl. Some saw her as an easy target. Among the students were a group of popular kids, the kind who thrived on attention, who measured their worth in laughter at someone else's expense. They had planned a prank for the talent show, and Alina was their chosen victim. When it was their turn to announce the next performer, one of the boys grabbed the microphone and, with a mischievous grin, said, "Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. Our next contestant is Alina, and she's about to sing in 9 different languages." The crowd burst into laughter. Some clapped mockingly. A few even shouted, "9? Let's hear it." Backstage, Alina froze. Her heart pounded in her chest, her palms turned sweaty. She wanted to run, to disappear. She had never agreed to this. It was a cruel setup, meant to humiliate her. From the third row, Daniel noticed instantly. He had an eye for pain. It came from years of noticing it in his daughter, years of remembering it from his own childhood. The way Alina stood there, stiff and trembling, reminded him too much of Mia the year before, when kids mocked her shoes and called her charity girl. That day, he had promised himself, never again. Not if I can help it. He leaned toward Mia. "Sweetheart, do you see her?" Mia nodded, her little hands tightening around her notebook. "She looks scared, Dad." Daniel's chest tightened. And before he could stop himself, before he even thought about what others might say, he rose from his seat and walked toward the stage. At first, people thought he was part of the act. The auditorium quieted, curious. Who was this man in a faded shirt, stepping onto the stage like he belonged there? Daniel took the microphone from the boy, whose smug grin faltered. "Excuse me," Daniel said, his voice steady but calm, "there's been a mistake." The audience shifted uneasily. Teachers exchanged puzzled looks. Daniel turned to Alina, his voice softer now. "Do you like singing?" Tears threatened in her eyes, but she nodded. "Then forget what they said," he told her gently. "Forget 9 languages. Forget the joke. Just sing one song. One you love. From your heart." Alina's lips trembled. I can't. Yes, you can, Daniel encouraged. And if you're afraid, I'll sing with you. The room gasped. A father? Singing? Mia jumped up from her seat, clapping. You can do it, Alina. And in that moment, something shifted. The pianist, still confused, placed his fingers on the keys. The first soft notes filled the hall. Alina's voice cracked on the first line. She closed her eyes, terrified. That's when Daniel's deep, steady voice joined in, not overpowering, but guiding, carrying her like a steady hand. Slowly, her fear melted. Her voice grew stronger, fuller, more confident with each note. The trembling disappeared, replaced by something powerful and unshakable. The pranksters who had set her up sat frozen, their laughter dead in their throats. Teachers watched with tears in their eyes. Parents leaned forward, mesmerized. By the time the song ended, the entire hall was silent. And then an explosion of applause, cheers, whistles. People stood on their feet. Some cried openly. Alina's chest heaved as she realized they weren't laughing at her anymore. They were cheering for her. But the story didn't end on that. Daniel smiled faintly. Every child deserves someone to stand up for them. Word spread quickly. By morning, the duet was the talk of the school. Students who had once ignored Alina now looked at her differently. Even the bullies, ashamed, cornered by the weight of their own cruelty, muttered apologies. Still, challenges remained. Daniel struggled to pay rent. Mia still missed her late mother every day. Alina still returned to a small room where her mother lay weak, fighting illness. But there was hope now. And sometimes, hope was enough to keep moving. Weeks later, the school hosted a multicultural concert. This time, Alina signed up voluntarily. And yes, she stunned everyone by singing verses in multiple languages she had picked up from neighbors and friends. Not as a joke, but as a celebration of her gift. In the front row, Daniel and Mia clapped louder than anyone. And for Alina, it was the night she realized she wasn't invisible anymore. From that day, Daniel began organizing community gatherings. Small at first, kids singing, reading, sharing talents. But word spread. Parents joined. Local businesses supported. Soon, it became a safe space where no child was mocked for being different. The duet that began as an accident turned into a movement of kindness. One evening, Alina handed Daniel a folded note. He kept it in his wallet forever. It said, "Thank you for standing beside me when no one else would. You didn't just save me on stage. You saved me from believing I didn't matter." And maybe that's what being a hero really means. Not wealth, not power, not fame. Just the courage to step up when someone needs you most. Closing call to action. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, have you ever seen kindness change someone's life? I'd love to hear your stories. And if you believe the world needs more kindness, more courage, and more voices like Alina's, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Be kind always. Together, we can spread hope one story at a time.